Amongst the ashes, the station had been dead for decades, maybe longer. Marcus Webb guided his ship through the skeletal remains of Station Epsilon 7, its twisted metal corridors floating like frozen ghosts against the black. His scanner swept across the debris field, searching for anything salvageable. Power cells, navigation arrays, maybe even intact fuel reserves if luck smiled on him for once. "Marcus, I'm detecting unusual readings in Sector 3, said Vale, his ship's artificial intelligence, her voice calm and measured as always. "Structural integrity is compromised. I'd advise against—" "Noted," Marcus interrupted, already adjusting course. 20 years of scavenging had taught him that Vale's warnings usually meant something valuable lay ahead. He maneuvered the Drifter's Hope through a jagged opening in the station's hull, his practiced hands steady on the controls. The interior was a graveyard. Frozen atmosphere crystals glittered in his floodlights like scattered diamonds. Equipment hung suspended in zero gravity, untouched since whatever catastrophe had claimed this place. He activated his suit's thrusters, propelling himself deeper into the wreckage. That's when his scanner caught it, a faint biosign, barely registering. "Vale, you seeing this?" "Confirmed. One life form. Signature is non-human. Marcus, this station has been abandoned for over 30 years. Whatever that is, it shouldn't be alive." But it was. Marcus followed the signal to what might have once been a medical bay. Debris had crushed most of the room, but in the corner, partially buried under twisted metal, he saw her. She was small, maybe reaching his shoulder if she stood. Her skin was a deep purple, darker where shadows pooled in the hollows of her face. Intricate markings traced along her arms and neck, patterns that might have glowed once but now barely flickered with dying light. Her breathing was shallow, each exhale forming tiny ice crystals around her parted lips. "Marcus, her species abandoned their wounded during the frontier wars. This is a Valkyrie. They're known for their cruelty and—" "She's dying, Vale." "Precisely. The Valkyrie leave their failures to perish. There's a reason she's here alone." Marcus stared at the girl's face. Even unconscious and near death, there was something defiant in the set of her jaw, something that reminded him of himself before the universe had ground him down to just surviving. He'd spent 5 years alone in the black, talking only to Vale. Human contact a distant memory. Maybe that's why he did what he did next. "Prepare the medical pod," he said, already clearing debris away from her. "We're taking her with us." "Marcus!" "That's an order, Vale." He gathered the alien girl carefully in his arms, surprised by how light she felt, how fragile. Her head lolled against his chest as he carried her back to his ship, her faint heartbeat barely perceptible through his suit. Behind them, Station Epsilon 7 continued its silent orbit, keeping its secrets, as it had for decades. But Marcus wasn't thinking about the past. He was thinking about the dying girl in his arms and the choice he'd just made, one that would change everything. The Drifter's Hope's airlock sealed behind them with a hiss, and Marcus laid her gently in the medical pod, watching as it hummed to life around her. "Vitals stabilizing," Vale reported, her tone carrying what might have been reluctant approval. "She'll survive. What happens after that is anyone's guess." Marcus pulled off his helmet and ran a hand through his dark hair, staring at the purple-skinned stranger who now lay in his ship. Her markings pulsed faintly with each breath, slightly stronger now.
Awakening. 3 days passed before she opened her eyes. Marcus was in the galley, heating a ration pack, when Vale's voice crackled through the comm. "Marcus, our guest is conscious and agitated." He dropped everything and rushed to the medical bay. The pod had opened automatically, and the alien girl was pressed against the far wall, her violet eyes wide with fear and confusion. The markings on her skin pulsed rapid crimson, a warning color, Marcus guessed. Hey," he said softly, raising his hands to show he was unarmed. "It's okay, you're safe." She hissed something in a language he didn't understand, her body tensed like a cornered animal. Her gaze darted around the room, taking in the unfamiliar human technology, the sterile walls, and finally settling back on Marcus with suspicion. "I found you on that station. Marcus continued, keeping his voice gentle. "You were dying. I brought you here to help." She tilted her head, studying him. Then she spoke again, slower this time, her melodic voice forming words he could almost grasp. When he shook his head, frustration flickered across her features. "Vale, can you translate?" "Working on it. The Velkari language has 17 dialects. Give me a moment." The girl's knees buckled slightly, and Marcus instinctively moved forward to help. She flinched away from his touch, but didn't have the strength to resist as he guided her to sit on the medical bed. Up close, he could see how thin she was, her cheekbones sharp beneath that purple skin. "Food," he said, miming eating. "You need food." Recognition sparked in her eyes. She nodded once, wary but listening. Marcus returned minutes later with water and a simple meal: bread, protein paste, dried fruit. Nothing that would shock her system. He set it on the bed beside her and backed away, giving her space. She stared at the food for a long moment before reaching for the water with trembling hands. The first sip made her cough, but she drank deeply, desperately. Then she tore into the bread with an urgency that made Marcus's chest tighten. How long had she been starving on that station? "Translation matrix completed," Vale announced. "I can now interpret." The girl's head snapped up at Vale's voice. She spoke rapidly, and Vale translated. "She asks why you saved her. She says humans and Velkari are enemies. She wants to know what you want from her." Marcus sat down slowly on the bench across from her, maintaining distance. "I don't want anything. You were dying. I couldn't just leave you there." Vale translated, and confusion rippled across the girl's features, her markings shifting to a cooler blue. She responded, and Vale said, "She doesn't understand. Her name is Sarah. She says her people left her to die because she failed her mission. She was unworthy. Why would you save something unworthy?" "Because that's wrong," Marcus said firmly, meeting Sarah's violet gaze. "Nobody deserves to be left to die alone in the dark. I don't care what your people think about worth." Sarah stared at him for a long moment, something unreadable moving behind her eyes. When she finally spoke again, her voice was quieter. Vale translated. "She asks what you're called." "Marcus Webb. This is my ship, the Drifter's Hope." "Hope," Sarah repeated, an accented standard, the first human word she'd spoken. Her markings flickered amber. Curiosity, perhaps. She touched her chest. "Sarah Kilthaz." "Nice to meet you, Sarah Kilthaz." She didn't smile back, but the defensive tension in her shoulders eased slightly. She finished the food in silence while Marcus watched, and for the first time in years, his ship didn't feel quite so empty. Over the following days, they developed a cautious routine. Sarah was weak, barely able to walk from the medical bay to the observation deck without exhausting herself. Marcus helped her, supporting her weight when she stumbled, pretending not to notice how she stiffened at his touch initially, then gradually relaxed. She was fascinated by everything: the star charts, the engine room, the way human ships navigated through subspace. Her fingers would trace the control panels with reverence, her markings glowing soft gold with wonder. Marcus found himself explaining things, teaching her standard words, watching her lips form the unfamiliar sounds. On the fifth night, they sat together in the observation deck, the vast canvas of stars stretching before them. Sarah had insisted on coming here, despite her weakness. She pressed her palm against the viewport, her reflection ghostly against the cosmic backdrop. "Beautiful," she said in careful standard, then added something in Velkari. "She says she had forgotten how beautiful the stars were," Vale translated. "She spent months on that station in darkness." "How long?" Marcus asked gently. Sarah held up fingers. 8 months. 8 months alone, slowly dying, abandoned by her own kind. "I'm sorry," Marcus said. She looked at him, really looked at him, and something shifted between them. She reached out hesitantly and touched his hand where it rested on the console. Her skin was warmer than he expected, and her markings pulsed gentle pink. "Thank you," she whispered in standard, "for hope." Marcus turned his hand over carefully, letting their palms meet. Neither of them pulled away.
Stars between us. The days bled into weeks, and the Drifter's Hope drifted through the outer reaches of charted space, far from trade routes and prying eyes. Sarah grew stronger.
the sharp angles of her face softening as proper nutrition returned her to health. Her markings brightened from dull embers to vibrant displays that shifted with her moods, something Marcus found himself watching more than he should. They fell into an easy rhythm. Mornings were spent in the cockpit, where Marcus taught Sarah the basics of human navigation while she corrected his clumsy pronunciation of Valkyrie phrases. Afternoons, she'd help him with repairs, her smaller hands reaching into spaces he couldn't access. Evenings belonged to the observation deck and long conversations that stretched into the ship's night cycle. "Tell me about Earth," Sarah said one evening, curled up in the co-pilot's chair. She'd taken to wearing one of Marcus's spare shirts over her own fitted garment. Gray fabric against purple skin, an oddly endearing combination. Marcus leaned back, gazing at the passing stars. "I haven't been there in 15 years. Left when I was 25. It's beautiful. Oceans, forests, cities that touch the clouds, but crowded. I felt like I was drowning in people." "So you chose the emptiness instead?" "I chose freedom." He glanced at her. "What about your homeworld? Valkyrie Prime?" Sarah's markings dimmed to deep indigo. Sadness, he'd learned. Cold, sharp. Everything there has edges. The buildings, the social order, even the way we speak to each other. Strength is everything. Compassion is weakness. She pulled the shirt tighter around herself. "I never fit." "That mission you failed," Marcus ventured carefully. "What happened?" She was quiet for so long he thought she wouldn't answer. Then, "We raided a colony transport. My commander ordered me to eliminate the survivors. There were children, Marcus. I couldn't. I hesitated. In Valkyrie culture, hesitation is betrayal." Her voice dropped to barely a whisper. "They left me on that station with no supplies, no way to call for help. A death sentence disguised as exile." Marcus felt anger kindle in his chest, not at Sarah, but at the cruelty of her people. He reached over and took her hand, the gesture natural, now after weeks of small touches. "Their loss is my gain." Sarah's markings flared bright pink, and she looked away, but her fingers tightened around his. "You know," Vale interjected diplomatically, "there's a rather spectacular meteor shower approaching our position. Might be worth watching from the observation deck." Marcus smiled. "Since when do you care about meteor showers?" "Since our sensors indicated it would provide optimal atmospheric ambiance for—" "Vale," Marcus warned. "Simply making an observation, Captain." Sarah laughed, the first real laugh Marcus had heard from her, a sound like distant chimes. "Your ship mind is trying to help you court me." "Court me?" Marcus felt heat rise to his face. I wasn't trying to—" "Good," Sarah said, standing and pulling him up by their joined hands, "because Valkyrie females do the courting. Come, show me these meteors." The observation deck's lights dimmed automatically as they entered. Beyond the viewport, streaks of light painted the darkness, cosmic debris burning brilliant and brief against the eternal black. Sarah pressed close to the glass, her breath fogging it slightly, and Marcus stood beside her. "On Valkyrie, we believed shooting stars were the spirits of warriors finding their way home," Sarah said softly. "On Earth, we wished on them. Children's superstition mostly." "Make a wish now." Sarah turned to face him, and in the meteor light, her eyes seemed to hold galaxies. "Please." Marcus looked at her, this impossible, beautiful survivor who'd crashed into his lonely existence. "I don't need to," he said quietly. "Everything I'd wish for is already here." Sarah's markings blazed vivid magenta, and she moved closer, closing the space between them. Her hand came up to touch his face, fingers tracing his jawline with wonder, as if memorizing him through touch. In my culture, this color means desire. You make me feel things I was taught to suppress, things I thought died on that station. Your thumb brushed across his lower lip. Is this acceptable for humans? Instead of answering, Marcus cupped her face gently and kissed her. Sarah made a soft sound of surprise, then melted into him. Her lips were warm, tasting faintly of the sweet tea they'd shared earlier. When they finally broke apart, both breathing harder, her markings had cycled through a dozen colors before settling on a deep, warm rose. Very acceptable, Marcus murmured against her forehead, and felt her smile against his chest as she wrapped her arms around him. They stood there, holding each other, while meteors painted light across their intertwined shadows. Two outcasts who'd found something neither had dared hope for, someone to hold back the darkness. "I should warn you," Sarah said eventually, her voice muffled against his shirt. "Valkyrie bonds are intense, permanent." "Good," Marcus said, tightening his embrace. "I'm tired of temporary." Outside, the stars wheeled on in their ancient dance, indifferent and infinite. But inside the drifter's hope, something warm and fragile and achingly real had begun to bloom. Something worth protecting against whatever the universe might throw at them. Ghosts of the past. The alarm shattered their peace at 0400 hours. Marcus jolted awake, instinctively reaching for Sarah beside him. They'd fallen asleep in the observation deck, tangled together under a thermal blanket, her head tucked beneath his chin. She stirred against him, her markings flickering sleepy yellow before snapping to alert orange. "Vale, report," Marcus called out, already moving toward the cockpit with Sarah close behind. "Long-range sensors have detected a Valkyrie warship on intercept course. They'll be within communications range in 20 minutes, weapons range in 40. Sarah's face went pale, her markings draining to ash gray. "No, they shouldn't have found me. I was declared dead." Marcus pulled up the tactical display. The vessel was massive, a Reaver-class destroyer, bristling with weapons. His salvage ship wouldn't last 30 seconds in a direct confrontation. "Can we outrun them?" "Not with our current drive configuration," Vale replied. "They have superior speed and maneuverability." Sarah was shaking, her hands clenched into fists. "You need to surrender me. Tell them you found me, that you are bringing me back. They might let you live." "Absolutely not." Marcus was already plotting jump coordinates, searching for any advantage. "We run, we hide, we fight if we have to, but I'm not giving you up." "Marcus, you don't understand. That's a Reaver-class ship. My former commander, Thex Varkal, commands the 3rd Fleet's Reaver Division." Her voice cracked. "He's the one who left me to die. If he's here personally, it means he knows I survived, and he can't allow that. It would show weakness." "Then we make him chase us through the Kestor Nebula. The ion interference will scramble their sensors." "Incoming transmission," Vale interrupted. "Audio only. They're hailing us." Marcus and Sarah locked eyes. After a moment, she nodded. "Accept it." The voice that filled the cockpit was cold, precise, utterly devoid of mercy. It spoke in Valkyrie, but Vale translated in real time. "Human vessel Drifter's Hope. This is Commander Thex Varkal of the Valkyrie 3rd Fleet. We have reason to believe you harbor a fugitive criminal. Surrender the exile Sarah Kyle-Thos immediately, and you will be permitted to depart unmolested." Sarah's entire body trembled, but she stepped forward and responded in her native tongue, her voice steady despite her fear. Vale translated. She says, "Commander Thex, I am no longer yours to command. I have found sanctuary with those who value mercy over strength. I will not return." A pause. Then Thex's laughter, sharp and cruel. "Mercy? You've always been weak, Sarah. That human has made you weaker still. You were meant to die honorably, forgotten. Instead, you shame yourself with this attachment. Last chance. Surrender, or we open fire on your vessel and your pet human." Marcus wrapped his arm around Sarah, feeling her rigid with suppressed emotion. He leaned toward the comm. "Commander Thex, this is Captain Marcus Webb. The woman you abandoned is under my protection. You want her, you'll have to go through me." "Gladly," Thex replied. "Weapons hot. You have 10 minutes to reconsider." The transmission cut. Sarah turned to Marcus, her markings swirling between fear white and desperation blue. "Why would you do this? You'll die for someone you've known only weeks." Marcus took her face in his hands, forcing her to meet his eyes. "Because in those weeks, you've become my entire universe. Because you wake up smiling now instead of screaming from nightmares. Because when you look at the stars, you see hope instead of death." He pressed his forehead to hers. "Because I love you, Sarah, and I'll be damned if I let them take you." Her breath hitched. Tears, crystalline and faintly luminescent, tracked down her purple cheeks. In Valkyrie, there's a word, Kyle Seth. It means soul bond, one who sees you not as you are commanded to be, but as you truly are. Her hands covered his. "You are my Kyle Seth, Marcus Webb. I love you too." They kissed, fierce and desperate, pouring everything unsaid into that moment. When they pulled apart, Sarah's markings had settled into determined crimson. "Then we run," she said, "together, and if we must fight, we fight together." "Vale, plot a course into the Kester Nebula. Maximum burn. Divert all non-essential power to engines and shields." "Acknowledged. Marcus, the odds of—" "I don't want to hear the odds. Just get us there." The drifter's hope surged forward, racing toward the purple-hued nebula that dominated the viewscreen. Behind them, the Valkyrie destroyer gave chase, its superior engines closing the distance steadily. Sarah worked beside Marcus at the navigation console, her fingers flying across the controls with practiced precision. "There," she pointed, to a dense cluster of wreckage ahead. "That frigate hull. If we can get behind it and kill all but life support, we might disappear long enough for them to pass." Marcus didn't hesitate. He dove toward the wreckage, threading the drifter's hope through twisted metal and frozen debris. Behind them, energy blasts lit up the nebula as the destroyer fired blindly into the ion haze. "Now, Vale, everything off." The ship went dark. Emergency lighting cast everything in dim red. Through the viewport, they watched the Valkyrie destroyer cruise past, its massive bulk eclipsing the nebula's glow. Marcus held his breath, his other hand squeezing Sarah's so tightly it must have hurt, but she didn't complain. Seconds stretched like hours. The destroyer continued forward, searching, its powerful beams sweeping through the murk. Then slowly, it began to turn away, heading deeper into the nebula. They waited in silence. 10 minutes. 20. Finally, Vale spoke softly. "Their energy signature is fading. They're moving away from our position." Marcus let out a breath he didn't know he had been holding. Beside him, Sarah sagged with relief, her markings cycling through exhausted gray-blue. He pulled her close, and she buried her face against his neck. "We made it," she whispered. "We made it," he confirmed, pressing a kiss to her temple. But as they held each other in the darkness, both knew this was only a temporary reprieve. The Valkyrie didn't forgive. They didn't forget. Thex would hunt them to the edge of the galaxy if necessary, which meant Marcus and Sarah had a choice to make: spend their lives running or find a way to disappear completely.
A new horizon. They stayed dark in the nebula for 6 hours, letting the ion storms cover any trace of their passage. Sarah curled against Marcus in the pilot's chair, neither speaking, just existing together in the red emergency lighting.
Her markings had settled into a soft, pulsing amber. Trust, contentment, despite everything. Vale, Marcus finally said, scan for the safest route out of here, somewhere unexpected. Calculating. Marcus, there's a gravitational anomaly 3 light-years from our current position. It appears to be an unstable wormhole mouth, poorly charted, potentially dangerous. Sarah lifted her head. The Valkyrie avoid wormholes, too unpredictable for military vessels. If we could navigate it, we'd come out somewhere even our best charts don't cover, Marcus finished. He met her eyes. That's a one-way trip, Sarah. No going back. No knowing what's on the other side. She touched his face, her markings brightening to determined gold. There's nothing behind us worth going back to, only forward, only with you. Marcus turned to kiss her palm. Then we jump into the unknown, together. Restoring power, Vale announced, plotting course to the anomaly, though I feel compelled to note that the survival rate for uncharted wormhole transits is approximately... We know, Marcus and Sarah said in unison, then shared a tired smile. The drifters' hope came alive around them, engines humming as they maneuvered out of the debris field. The nebula's beauty unfolded before them, cosmic clouds in shades of violet and silver, threaded with lightning-like energy discharges. They were an hour from the wormhole when the second transmission came through. They've found us again, Vale said quietly. But the voice wasn't Thex. It was younger, female, uncertain. The Valkyrie words tumbled out rapidly, and Vale translated. Sarah Kylithis, this is Reyna Sektar, junior tactical officer aboard the destroyer Vengeance. I wanted you to know that not all of us agreed with Commander Thex's decision. Some of us remembered you, your kindness, the time you saved my squad on Hellion Prime. Sarah's markings flared, surprise white. She responded, her voice shaking, and Vale translated, Reyna, you're alive? Because of you. You carried me 4 kilometers through enemy fire when I was wounded. You told me that survival wasn't weakness, that protecting others was the truest strength. A pause. The commander believes he's lost you in the nebula. He's ordered us to return to the fleet. But Sarah, he's put out a bounty. Every Valkyrie hunter in 5 sectors will be looking for you. Marcus felt Sarah stiffen against him. He wrapped his arm more tightly around her waist. Reyna continued, I'm sending you coordinates. It's a dead zone, past the outer rim. No Valkyrie colonies, no patrol routes. Some say human settlers tried to establish outposts there generations ago. You could disappear there, both of you. Why are you helping me? Sarah asked, tears in her voice. Because you showed me that there's another way to be strong. I don't know if I'll ever have your courage, but maybe someday. The coordinates are uploading now. This transmission will erase itself. I was never here. Reyna's voice softened. Find your peace, Sarah. You've earned it. Sektar out. The transmission ended. Data streamed across the console. Coordinates to a region of space Marcus had never even heard of, far beyond charted territory. She gave us a gift, Sarah whispered, staring at the star charts. A future. Marcus studied the coordinates. It's a long journey, months maybe. Through spaces no one has mapped. We could run into anything. Pirates, anomalies, dead zones. Or we could find a home. Sarah turned in his arms to face him fully. A place where I'm not an exile and you're not alone. Where we can wake up without fear. Where we can... She hesitated, her markings cycling to shy pink. Build something. Together. Marcus felt something crack open in his chest, the last defensive wall he'd built around his heart after years of isolation. You mean that? A real life? Not just running? I mean it. She took his face in both hands. On Velkara, there's a bonding ceremony. 2 souls who choose each other permanently, regardless of clan or status. It's ancient, almost forgotten. But I want that with you, Marcus Webb. I want forever. He pulled her into a kiss that felt like a promise, like signing a contract with the universe itself. When they broke apart, both breathless, he pressed his forehead to hers. Then let's go find our forever. Vale's voice held unmistakable warmth. "Coordinates locked. Wormhole transit in 30 minutes. I've taken the liberty of calculating supplies needed for a long-term colony establishment. Also, Marcus, congratulations on your upcoming nuptials, however alien they may be." "Thanks, Vale," Marcus laughed, the first genuine joy he'd felt in years bubbling up from somewhere deep inside. They spent the remaining time preparing, securing cargo, and reinforcing the ship for the transit. As the wormhole loomed ahead, a swirling vortex of impossible colors and bent space-time, they stood together in the cockpit, hands clasped. "No regrets?" Marcus asked. Sarah's markings blazed brilliant magenta. Love, clear and true. "My only regret would be turning back." Transit in 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7. Marcus squeezed Sarah's hand. Through the viewport, the wormhole yawned before them, a tunnel to somewhere impossibly far, impossibly new. 6, 5, 4. "Whatever is on the other side," Sarah said, "we face it together." 3, 2, 1. Transit. The drifter's hope plunged forward into the impossible, into the unknown. Reality twisted and stretched around them, the laws of physics becoming suggestions. Marcus felt Sarah's grip tighten, felt her warmth beside him, and knew that whatever lay ahead, he wasn't facing it alone. The wormhole spat them out into a star system painted in unfamiliar colors. 3 suns, one amber, one pale blue, one deep crimson. And there, on the 4th planet, Vale's sensors detected something miraculous. Oxygen atmosphere, liquid water, abandoned structures that might once have been human colonies. "Scanning for life signs," Vale reported. "No sapient species detected. The planet appears to be habitable. Waiting." Marcus and Sarah stared at the world rotating slowly before them, blues and greens and whites, clouds swirling across continents, oceans catching the light of 3 suns. "It's beautiful," Sarah breathed, her markings cycling through every color of wonder and hope. "It's ours," Marcus said. "If you want it." She turned to him, and in her violet eyes he saw their entire future reflected. Mornings waking up together, nights under alien stars, a life built from scratch in a place where no one would hunt them, judge them, or tear them apart. "Yes," she whispered. "Let's go home." The drifter's hope descended through the atmosphere, carrying 2 refugees toward their new beginning. Behind them, across impossible distances, the universe continued its ancient patterns, species rising and falling, empires expanding and contracting, the eternal dance of light and dark. But on a small planet orbiting 3 suns, in a region of space no chart had ever marked, 2 souls who had found each other in the wreckage would build something the universe had tried to deny them. A home, a sanctuary, a love that defied the cold mathematics of survival. As they broke through the clouds, Sarah's hand found Marcus's, and her markings settled into a color he'd never seen before. A soft, radiant gold that seemed to glow from within. "What does that color mean?" Marcus asked quietly. Sarah smiled, tears streaming down her purple cheeks. "It means coming home. It's a color most Valkyrie never experience. It requires," she struggled for the word in standard, "belonging, true belonging." Marcus brought her hand to his lips. "Then welcome home, Sarah Kylithis." "Welcome home, Marcus Webb." The ship touched down in a clearing near one of the abandoned structures, human-built, weathered but intact, waiting for someone to breathe life back into it. Through the viewport, they could see forests in shades of teal and violet, mountains in the distance catching the crimson sun's light, and overhead, 2 moons rising as the amber sun set. It was perfect. It was theirs. It was the beginning of everything they had dared to dream. Hand in hand, they walked down the landing ramp into the warm air of their new world, leaving behind everything that had tried to break them, carrying forward only what mattered: each other, hope, and the stubborn belief that love, however impossible, however unlikely, was worth fighting for. The last star's promise had been kept. In the darkness between worlds, they had found their light. And it would be enough.